Hello, everybody, and welcome to I think this is the 51st issue
Yes.
of the Nerdletter. So this
Yep.
is this is the Nerdletter Talk series, wherein myself, Paul Moderman, and my incredible co-host Yelena Perfilieva we just geek out about the things that we're gonna write about in the upcoming issue of our critically acclaimed Emmy Award watching Nerdletter. Um, without further ado, Yelena, I want to toss the ball to you. Tell us what you're thinking about and what you're ready to say really
Yep.
grind your gears these
Yep.
days.
So we have, as a reminder to those who have not watched the previous 50 episodes, every 2 weeks or so we do three stories each, and sometimes in these conversations we share bonus content. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have any bonuses. It's beginning of the year, so business is slow in the news. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes we have more. So I'm going to talk about my three potential stories for the next newsletter. So one big subject I started with this video, but it's actually, I think, story going to be slightly bigger than that. So this is interesting video. It's relatively recent. Who is solving the developer shortage crisis? I have to say that it actually does not really talk just about developer shortage crisis, and the title also seems a little bit ironic these days because we hear more and more
Yeah.
about just additional layoffs. So is there even really developer shortage crisis? I think that's one of the questions to ask. But this author really had some good points about like what's going on, I think, with developer job market in general, and whether there actually is or is not crisis, and if there is crisis, then of like which developers exactly. So I will start with this kind of YouTube video, but I do have very many kind of different points there. It's not
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's not just this
Boy,
one.
what a strange like clash of ideas here, right?
Yeah,
In terms of there's a shortage.
yeah.
P.S. Good luck finding a job these days,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like,
exactly,
what,
exactly.
how does that work?
And
Yeah.
actually, second video, let me just add it quickly for you. So this is another video that came up as related, and the title is, I think, pretty good. The end of the self-taught programmer,
Interesting.
and it's there probably should be question mark under this,
Yeah.
but I agree with a lot of what Kenny is saying in this video, that I think we are at the point similar to what we experienced in the very early 2000s, when I don't know, some viewers might not even been born at that time because it's been more than 20 years ago, or they were just babies. So what happened around 2000, that's where, first of all, Y2K problem needed a lot of IT resources to work and update systems on it. But it was also the times of that dot-com boom and then
Yeah.
dot-com kind of burst. And I think Java as a language also came to kind of full kind of power around that time. So
Yeah.
I was in the US, and there were lots of job ads that were essentially, if you have Java certificate, we hire you, like no questions asked. So
Yeah.
many people who had nothing to do with development, no development background whatsoever, they just went and got like Java book or just pursued Java certification with short like boot camps and something. So there are lots of people came into industries that were like not relevant at all before, that nothing to do with development. I think we have experienced very similar situation recently in the last few years, after all those stories how kid gets hired out of college and gets like great job with huge salary right away. Somehow those stories prompted many people again to just jump on it and trying to get into industry, but eventually that created oversupply. So it's like any free market, it's like supply and demand kind of thing. And I totally agree with Kenny's point here, that I believe we are at the stage where we're kind of on very, very clear decline of, we don't really need more people like that, and I think market will self-correct, and maybe in another 20 years it will repeat again. So who knows? But it's something just I think that happens with just different technologies periodically. So it's
Yeah.
nothing unusual if you have been
Yeah.
in IT long enough. So that's sorry. I think I spoke longer that it's gonna be for me to write the story about this, but it's
time
just
penalty.
very timely, I think, subject, and also very, very interesting time right
Very
now
timely
in the
subject.
industry.
Yes.
So second subject, it's not really closely related to enterprise software, I would say, but I found this YouTube video, spend a lot of time on YouTube, clearly. And I was like, I watched it like, yes, like this, like really, I feel like super passionate about like why you can't, that's basically this kind of screen tells you everything, why you can't find anything on Google anymore. And I really liked Enrico's channel, and I definitely recommend watching his other videos. I will have a link in the story. He has many really great thoughts about technology and innovation in general, but this specific one, again, there is a lot of history behind how Google started and where we arrived. And I think we wrote about this before. I have written about the Brave, I think, browser in this kind of aspect, how we need some alternatives. But I feel, yeah, it's just anything you search for. And as SAP professionals, we search a lot. As you know, if you're working with SAP and if you're not searching in Google, you're doing something wrong. I find myself just extremely frustrated with the results, and it's getting just gradually worse and worse. And it's not even professionally. Pretty much anything I search for, I don't know, even the tricks that we used, like specifying sites, etc., some of them are just stopped working, and you just get like bombarded with pages of sponsored ads or something that's completely irrelevant.
This is one of those things where, like, I do not have this experience of what the hell is wrong with my Google, right?
Yeah.
I don't have that, but I think it must be like, because I also don't have the, like, some people hate using things like ChatGPT
Yeah.
or whatever like that, but I don't have that hate. And I think there's very clearly like sort of pockets of people that are like, I can't find stuff versus nothing has changed for me. I hate doing this, but nothing's different for me. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be fascinating to look at the two of us at our search histories
Yeah.
to see what, and maybe it's something where like it is worse for me and I don't even notice it yet, right? Like, because I don't have that like rah feeling.
Yeah.
I still feel like I find what I'm looking for, but maybe the crapification was gradual enough that I was a frog
Yeah.
in boiling water, right? And I didn't even notice that I was now in the boil or whatever. But like, so I will be. This is a video I'm going to definitely watch to find out about that.
Yeah. It's a really good kind of also talking about history of it, and since I lived through this, so I've seen it before. I can totally relate to what he's talking about here. And just to add to this, I think your point about ChatGPT and using AI tools, I believe you do have access to the paid version of it, not just the free one. So free one, it's been updated, so it's pretty good, but it's not as good as a paid one, I would say. And also, I think it depends on maybe which device and which browser you use, because I can see huge difference between when I use my PC, where I use Firefox and I enabled like pretty much anything that solves like this ad problem. I have it like uBlock Origin, every possible like, ad blocker. I just pile up on top of this. So I like when people talk about there are ads on, I don't see ads on Twitter, for example, when I view it in browser. Like so it's awesome experience. But sometimes I just search quickly, maybe on my phone or on my tablet, and that's where I do not have the same tools and extensions that I can use on PC, and that's where it's really just crap. Honestly, it's sometimes I don't even know where it's pulling those results from. It's just so bizarre and random, and so another fascinating subject. And the third one So my starting point was this really nice, very short, but nevertheless, I think very important blog post by the master himself, Lars Wem, who is
There's
a
that.
major major SAP celebrity, apart
Mhm.
from us, of course. So he has posted just very nice, like sweet blogs how he started using GitHub Copilot originally 2021. It wasn't really great, but he eventually returned to this, and this just very briefly but concisely describes his setup using Visual Studio Code and and how he basically has much more success right now. So
Yeah.
pretty short but sweet, interesting post. I also used recently that SAP build Copilot. What's that? Build code. That's a new
Oh
tool
yeah,
that
yeah.
was announced in at TechEd. It is currently in just kind of by appointment preview stage. So I was one of those probably thousands of people who signed up right after TechEd. We finally got access, and I got to spend a little bit of time with it. Um, my kind of impression from that tool is it's kind of I think it's supposed to be, at least the way it was advertised and presented tech, it's like magical wand. It's like abacabula, and here you go. Here is like your
Right.
cap app. But in reality, it's more like IKEA furniture, where you get like a box with bits and pieces and maybe very cryptic instructions, and you have to kind of assemble it. That's kind of my impression of it. I know it's
Yeah.
still early days, but I hope that, I don't know, either SAP maybe manages to tone down the hype so that people have expectations accordingly, or maybe they will create something that is more concise, which would live up to the hype created. So currently, I think there is huge disconnect between the hype and how it actually looks
Yeah.
like right now. So
I definitely think that people who do demos or whatever of tools that do these things,
mhm,
you're doing the demos the wrong way.
yeah,
Because in the demos, you just like you put in a magic prompt and out pops an
yeah,
app.
yeah,
And like if you guys, anybody watching this video with that expectation, you
mhm,
are in for a night of weeping into your beer. Like that's just
yeah,
not like if you want to use AI for development, and I understand it because I do use
mhm,
it and I love it, it has to be a conversation. It has to be, I want this. Oh, but can you actually like it can't be, I want an app that updates my POs and just poof, there it is.
yeah,
That's just not how it's gonna
yeah,
work for you
yeah,
right now.
yeah. Yeah, and it's weird because the prompt is actually create an app with like so and so. And then it's like, well, where is my app? Like, you just gave me like data model. I mean,
Yeah.
I can write a CDSU or something. So yeah, yeah, there are further steps, but you kind of, again, it's no magic. It's not like snapping fingers like easy button as one would kind of believe it to be. So just kind of general about talking about tools that we can already use or that will be available very soon.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would be curious to hear from others who maybe also signed up for that preview access. So if anyone is watching, and if you'd like to share your experience, I would be very interested. So drop us a line in the comments.
Shout us
So
out.
that's yep. So that's all for me. And passing the baton to you, Paul.
Here we go. I think it was last issue or maybe the issue
Oh
before
yeah,
that.
astronomer. Yeah.
I talked about astronomer, what I did in the story was I was going to talk about astronomer, but I
Mm,
got sucked in by their bot and I talked
mm,
about their chatbot instead. But
mm,
this time I want to go back and talk about actually what astronomer and Apache Airflow are,
mm,
like as for real things.
yeah.
Because it's actually an interesting thing. Because I mean, I think these days, even just more than ever, like managing the fire hose of data across stuff
Mm-hmm.
is like possibly the most important job for the IT crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you can talk about business solutions, and that's like obviously more important to a business. But like a lot of times under the hood of that is like you got to get the data from point A to point
Yeah.
B, and there's so many ways to do it, and so many ways for that stuff to fail. This approach especially as pertains to AI and large language models, but really anything ETL has a lot of cool little bits and pieces to it that I like. One of them is the like they do like the specification of their data flows is like you write it in Python. And that's actually really cool because a lot of the folks who use this are Python experts. And so if you manage your like data flows through Python as well with this tool, then that gives you the keys to the kingdom on a lot of other things. Like, the people who work with it can think in the same terms as the people who might use it on the other side, but also like it's that much easier to sort of manage that stuff as code with builds and repositories and all that kind of stuff. So like your repositories can take on this like your data flows and workflows can take on the same shape as like your code repository for apps kind of thing. And there's a lot of other cool stuff too that I'll go into, but I'm gonna not be distracted by ChatGPT this time and get back into what actually Apache Airflow and Astronomer.
All right, so Astronomer is a sequel. Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this because Acceleration Economy, what used to be, I think it used to be Cloud Wars. They declared Christian Klein their CEO of the year for 2023.
Ooh.
So I am going to read the special report and report back to you, our loyal viewers, what's going on there, because like I don't know whether to agree or disagree right now, right? Because I didn't do the like financial analysis and stuff like that like is mostly over my head, right? But like I like, especially when you think of it in terms of cloud, SAP still doesn't jump to the front of my head when I think about cloud stuff, right? So what's the perspective going on here that makes like a guy or a company, I should say, mostly Bob, but like other people too, say, yep, in the terms of cloud, when I put on my cloud lenses, SAP is the winner of the race here. So I want to see it and I want to maybe have my mind changed. I don't know. But
I'm curious if they share like finalists of this, I don't know, competition or however they decide.
That's a good thing. I'll look for their. I'll look see if they
like who are other candidates for the title? I would be curious. Like, but I mean, good for congratulations to Christian Klein, I guess. So
I don't know whether it's like he's gonna go to like Hollywood and accept
like
a trophy for this.
Ceremony,
He's gonna get roasted by a comedian before it. I don't know.
Some
but like
champagne at SAP headquarters. So
So I'll go through that and I'll put the link to this. It's a free report, so you can get the report.
No, you just the only price is your email.
The price is your email. So fire up your fake emails, everybody, to get this report. Okay. I have two other ones. I'm still trying to decide here. This one is also touching SAP build, as we discussed in your stuff. And I'm still trying to find my place in some of the nuances of what I believe about low code, no code. Not in the sense that because I do believe that it is like a really good thing. I'm just trying to find the right places to draw the circles around it, right? Or draw the boundaries around it. Because at my day job, a company, we use it. We use Power Platform, the Microsoft version of this, to amazing effect. Power Platform is like, and I'm not being paid to say this, Power Platform is the best thing in the world for this stuff, bar none. But at the same time, it's like when people talk about citizen developers or low code, no code, or whatever, like I think there are two levers that get confused, or at least two. One of them is saving or like a reduction or cost improvement in time spent building stuff. And one of them is a cost or time spent reduction in skill levels to do stuff. And I actually think at this point, The time dimension is the only one that actually shows anything. The skill dimension, if you
Yeah.
go through and read these things and try to do this stuff, you will find that for like enterprise grade stuff, not like Sally in accounting made a party planning power app or whatever, not that.
Yeah.
Enterprise grade stuff, you go through it, think about like it is not the case, except for the most special purple unicorn out there, that somebody in like pick your business department can make an enterprise grade app all by themselves without help. Like the skill level, like I still have to understand all the things I know about HTTP, about statefulness, about JSON, all this stuff that those folks just don't have to think about in their day jobs, which kudos to them, because like it occupies your whole head, right? Like, but like, so at this point, I think the value lever is still the time lever and not the I don't have to buy expensive people. You know what I mean? Like you still need skilled people to do this stuff for the biggest enterprise grade stuff.
Yeah, that's why I always have a beef with this stupid citizen developer terminology. And I believe what you're saying that will actually remain because it has not changed at all in over 20 years I've been in IT, and I've been hearing about monkeys replacing developers since forever. It still has not changed. So there are many tools, but just like you're saying, you do need some skills to use them. And even going back to my experience with this new SAP build code, it's not a tool for someone who like has no clue whatsoever. And I don't know, with maybe tons of work, it might be sometimes, but I'm super skeptical that it's gonna really happen, because and it might not actually be worthy investment, because in the end, I think still that population of citizen developers, if they ever materialize, it will be limited in what they can achieve just by definition. And it's like, talk about that good old SQL query in SAP SQL1 that's been available for a very long time. I had experience with it when I used it for some very simple reports, and I also taught my functional consultant colleagues how to use it. But again, they could only use them for simplest cases. When it was anything that's slightly more complicated, they would sometimes say, okay, I can connect like these two tables, but that's about it. I cannot really, I need something more. And I don't know how to do this, or it's too complicated, or performance is going to be so terrible that it's just going to crash the system. So at this point, I would say I'm going to take over. So yeah, thank you for what you have done so far, but it goes really beyond your skills. So I think it's going to be exactly the same situation with just different tools. So that's my nice and accurate prediction.
If it, like, I don't know. I don't know how to look into the future on this stuff, so I don't know. But because like my head still swims with, you know, AI things all the time, so I don't know how to look at the future on that stuff. But if I look at the current landscape now, like I 100% believe that you can overall save time for a fairly a sizable class of application development. But at this point, you cannot skimp on skills. You cannot skimp on skills.
Yep.
The other thing is, I don't know why I opened this page for it, but OpenSAP closing down, Learning Hub, learningsap.com, that kind of stuff. There's some tensions in my head about what the right thing is. Not that I love OpenSAP, but I think more along the lines of just like, in my head, I always compare, or I used to, maybe I shouldn't, I would always compare SAP learning stuff to like Azure or GCP type learning, which in those places, the documentation is ridiculously good, right? It's so easy to learn from the hyperscaler platform stuff. But what I've never done is gone out and looked at like Oracle Fusion or Workday or whatever, and how those folks, who I think are in a much more comparable space, right, to SAP, in the ERP world anyway, how do they go about their learning as compared to these things? What are the traps and pitfalls there? And so this is I'm probably not going to write about this because it's too big of a question. But my the hypothesis that I'm going after here is I have always had if I can just be internet, if I can just be honest with you a little bit here. I still have like a bad taste in my mouth for a lot of like SAP training or learning stuff. I just have never been a huge fan of it from that side. But I don't I I may not be giving it a fair shake compared to the other things out there, right? In comparable environments. So this is the more I talk about this, the more I realize I don't have a good single line through this, but I'm having more thoughts about both open SAPs and Learning Hub and that kind of stuff, but also enterprise software training and learning stuff in general. So I'll probably have to split that up into like 10 different stories or whatever over the course of the year. But it's like, yeah. So
we're gonna open a new newsletter.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
So unless I find a singular thread here, I'll just forget this one. But I thought I had one, and then as I talked, I was like, nope, I don't have a single thread here. So, but that's my stuff.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you should mention Oracle. I would actually be very curious to talk to someone from Oracle ecosystem. I don't even know anyone, to be honest. It's we kind of in different totally different camps, but I bet they deal with some of the same challenges as we do in SAP, just maybe slightly different flavor. So
because it's got that, it's like it's easy to complain if it's like your little brother who's right there with you. You know, you're like, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. But like when it's not your little brother, you don't live with him, you don't know what it's like, right? So I don't know what it's like, Workday, Oracle, etc., to do that learning. So
it may be not even fair, I would say, compare SAP to Google, because as a company and as maybe just like group of people, Google is much younger, so they do not have the same baggage. But Microsoft it's not as old as SAP because it didn't start like way back in the 70s, but I think it's reasonably mature, kind of. So it would be, I think, at this point, fair comparison to see how how Microsoft does something and what SAP can learn from them. My main impression, I would say, from both Google and Microsoft documents, whenever I read them, they sound like they were written by a developer, or at least by someone who knows how to like talk to humans. While SAP, I feel like people, when they get to enterprise stage and they feel the need to overcomplicate things or to speak like in very pompous, very like super high style, I don't know, style. So it's just always very weird. You read it and I need a translator for it. It's written in English, but most of the time you really have to like dig for the meaning in it. And there are some articles that are written better than others. I think the group that is behind ABAP Rep, they are still like holding the fort and not letting those hordes of people who like to overcomplicate things to kind of like humans in the middle of zombie apocalypse. So they're still, I think, doing reasonably well. But I do see some troubling signs there where I think maybe some zombies are maybe getting in through some points. But there are spaces where I cannot understand anything. Like I'm looking at like something at help.sap.com and like, please someone explain this to me.
What is even happening?
What does it mean? What do I do with this information? Like what all of this is doing here? I just don't get it at all. And I know there is an initiative to do like open documentation at something. I feel it might create more like islands of like fighting zombies. I think SAP help like documentation overall is just so big and so messed up that I don't know. In some places you might just do like greenfield, just burn it with fire and just write it, rewrite it, from the start. So
so
sorry.
let's end actually on a trivia question for you, because you said SAP is older than Microsoft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a guess of when Microsoft was founded?
Good question. I want to say like 1990s or
Microsoft,
maybe late
Microsoft,
80s.
Microsoft
That's
was founded in 1975.
oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but I
wouldn't
think
have
it
guessed it.
points. See,
Yeah,
that points because I googled when you said that. I was like, I think it was founded in the 70s, and I googled it to make
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But the reason I like tripped on that is like if you interact with SAP and SAP software, you are like, yeah, that company was founded in the 70s. When you
Yeah,
interact with Microsoft stuff, you're like, that company wasn't founded in the 70s. They
yeah,
just had such different
yeah,
paths through tech that
yeah.
like they just look so different. Even if like, Hasselplattner and Bill Gates could have been,
Mm-hmm.
soccer club buddies if they'd both been to school or whatever, right? Like
Yeah,
it's just such a strange
yeah,
straight like such wildly different paths through tech in
yeah,
their world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's something TIL. Yeah, something I learned today. I wouldn't. Yeah,
that wasn't a trap
yeah.
because my head was like, yeah, she's probably right. And I was like, but is it true? Like, so yeah,
Mm.
it was, yeah.
All right. So
Anyway,
when I was rambling, Paul was googling,
I
and
was
Google search still works.
I
Thanks
was
for
I
that.
was I was
Or
preparing my
ChatGPT.
I was preparing my actually moment for yeah.
Actually. Mm,
Okay,
I see.
guys. But I think that's a good wrap. We've
Yeah.
been chatting for a while now. We should probably let people, do their regular lives here.
Go back to your job.
Go back to interesting things. But I hope you guys give us a watch, give us a read when we release the issue, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye.